Hey everybody, this is Brady with New Vintage Film here making another Warhammer 40k video. And if you're new to Warhammer 40k, it's all about playing the tabletop war game Warhammer 40k as cheaply and as inexpensively as possible. And so today I'd like to talk about terrain, which is kind of a key part of the tabletop experience. You know, you create this tabletop war zone and you want to have cool things to kind of fight over. Terrain, I find, is one of those things that it's very cheap but very rewarding to do. You know, you want to have an interesting tabletop, so you make some crazy terrain. When I first started making terrain, the first piece of terrain I ever made was this. It's a simple popsicle stick shipping container. It is hideous. You know, I didn't even round off the popsicle sticks. You can still see them. You know, but I play orcs, so it doesn't really matter. But it was the first kind of experiment, and I'm glad I did. You know, so I wanted to get things a little bit more complicated. So I went out and bought some MDF and I started collecting a bunch of junk. I went to the dollar store and got my hands on a bunch of crazy stuff that I think would look great on a piece of terrain. And so what I wanted to focus on was this first piece of terrain, which is kind of an oil refinery kind of piece. I have all sorts of crazy junk just glued together, basically. And then what I've done is I've gone through and I've painted it with some pretty cheap like craft paint, you know, but I feel like I've created a pretty good piece of terrain that is interesting, is varied, you know, has some good color, you know, but also some texture. So this was my first official like big piece of terrain, you know, so there's lots of spots up here, around here that you can use. I kind of wanted to make it ugly and dirty and colorful. So that was my very first real piece of terrain. So I call this the oil refinery. And some of these bits, I'm like, this is just like corrugated tubing I found in a dumpster. These are some cans. This is a like a CD right here. This right here is a believe it or not, a what's it called? Parmesan cheese can. You know, I made this ladder out of popsicle sticks and barbecue skewers. This is a lemon juice squeeze. I had this cool texture on it, so you know you get those lemon juice things. So I had that, and then I painted it. I love this texture, so it's kind of like a lemon skin. And then these are like little sprue bits I thought would look cool as pipes. So my next piece of terrain, I wanted to get a little bit more interesting, and I had at work I had ordered some handheld walkie-talkies, and they came in these cool kind of like clamshells, and then they would separate. So I had two separated clamshells, and they fit really well together. So this next piece of terrain is the lower half of the clamshell, and what I did was I went to like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever, and I spent $4 on some plaster Paris, you know. And so these two pieces of terrain are matching. So if you could literally turn this piece upside down and it would fit into here. So you know they're kind of mirror entities. But what I loved about this one, so the plaster is like super duper heavy, so this terrain piece isn't moving, but it's a little bit fragile, so there's a few places on here where I've chipped it on purpose, actually. So on this one, I kind of wanted to make like a outpost fort kind of looking thing. So I've painted this all gray. I've matted some like really nasty looking sewer water flowing out of here. I mean, there's even like an ooze pit in the inside. You know, I've used simple piano wire here and some extra sprue bits to kind of make the fortifications. Again, popsicle sticks in the bottom. And I've really just painted it up and kind of make it look worn. And I wanted to try like a Mars red kind of surface, so that's what I did. It's kind of contrast with the green. This was actually really fun to paint. You can kind of see some of the words in here. So this one says AC adapter. So this is clearly, you know, a little bit different, but I kind of like the way it turned out. It's something nice. So the next one, the one that's the mirror of this first one, man, those are so heavy, is this one. I wanted to make kind of like a comms relay or a radio outpost, or like a power substation. And I wanted to do it red because I was thinking, okay, who's going to be in charge of the power on this planet of ours? So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe the Adeptus Mechanicus, you know. So I went with the red, kind of the Adeptus Mechanicus. But I wanted to add some, because this one over here is kind of flat. You know, simple surfaces. It has a few corrugations, things like this. This one I want to make a little more interesting. So I've tried to add, I can see if I can add a little bit more detail onto here. So I tried to add like the Gothic window plates. That's kind of a bad reflection. Kind of these these gothic shapes. And what I did was I had some cardstock and really thin cardboard, so I cut out these kind of shapes and glued them on the side. You know, I've added pipes and all this machinery looking kind of things is all just sprues that I've cut up into kind of cool shapes. You know, I had a big pile of sprues left over, and I kind of made them into cool shapes. So I took the longer ones, made the sprue here. You know, I kind of wanted to add like power lines, things like that. Especially these ones over here. These look like power lines. And over here, this one turned out really good. I thought this was just a corrugated tube, and I've added a piece of cardstock in there, and I cut it out so it looks like a fan. You know, same thing over here. I've added some vents. You know, so these little pieces of terrain, you know, they don't take much to make them look different. You know, you just want to make it look exciting. You know, you want to have something worth fighting over. You know, if we're gonna have these little tiny army fights, might as well make it look interesting. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to make terrain so that I could fill up this board so I can make battle reports. Because that's something I think I would be really interested in, and I think I would really enjoy it. So I was looking for more pieces of terrain so I might be able to fill it up, you know, make it look populated. So while I was kind of rummaging around looking for things that I could work on or tear apart and build into something new, my printer broke. You know, it just stopped working. You know, just whatever. It was a super cheap printer, you know, $50 or whatever, and it just stopped working. And I thought, well, it has some really great shapes on it. I said, you know what, I'm just going to tear it apart. You know, it's broken. It's not worth it. I want to see what I can find. You know, maybe I can find some really great, crazy pieces. And I am blown away by what kind of crazy, really neat terrain pieces you can make out of an old printer. So here's what I want to show you. So the first one I want to show you is this one. This one I'm pretty proud of. It's not quite done yet. I need to do some weathering. But I also need to do some more detail work. I want to add some more like barrels and you know, some more detail pieces. So this is kind of like my heliport landing pad thing. I wanted to try making camo, so like a desert camo, because I live in Arizona, so I wanted to try that classic Desert Storm desert camo. This is kind of what I came up with. So all of these pieces, I literally spent 2 or 3 hours disassembling an entire printer. Took out every screw, took apart all the pieces. It's surprisingly complicated, but there's a lot of really great, cool pieces. Like this flat piece here, this is the part that you would slide out and the paper would come printing off of, you know, at the end. So it would come here and, you know, rest. You know, some of these things in here, these are like little plastic pieces. This held the ink cartridges. This side body piece, you can kind of see here, that's the outside shell of the printer. You know, this is where the scanner would have laid, so it would have been like this, you know. And then I wanted to make it, I was building a lot of these other pieces which are kind of orky and kind of ramshackled. This I wanted to make more imperial, more finished, things like that. So this I kind of wanted to treat, so make it a little bit more clean, make it a little bit more interesting, more mechanical. This is an old speaker I found in the garbage, and these are some more printer pieces. I kind of want to make it like different, so you know, you can actually put your models inside here, like a runway. You can land on here. You could treat this as a what's that? The pie plate thing that you get a bonus to land your air vehicles on, your drop pods. You know, you could treat it like that. Maybe, so I wanted to make terrain that would be interesting enough, but also have some interesting kind of sight lines. You know, I've added some crane pieces up here, you know, winches, you know, and I'm going to add barrels and all sorts of junk in here. So that was my first piece that I used from the printer, and I loved it. And so one of the other things that I wanted to make is I want to make more little props, things that I can kind of strew about. This is another printer thing. This is actually the printer feed. These are rollers here, so the paper would roll through here. And I wanted to make an Aegis defense line. So I used what printer pieces I could find, and this is kind of one of them. You know, I've got a few more that I'm working on right now. You know, but they're super easy and really cheap to print. So I tore apart one printer, and I think I can get 4 or 5 good pieces of terrain out of it. You know, I'm working there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. That's 4. I've got 3 more that I can easily slap together that I'm working on right now. So there, you know, I wanted to make more little props. One of the other little props that I wanted to do, and I saw on Google, was I wanted to make a billboard. I wanted to make a billboard. kind of just show some advertising, show some color. So this is another printer piece. I think there was some motors in here, and this is where the paper would slide across. So I've kind of slapped some things together. Like this one says, if you can read it here, it says Epson. So these are literally little pieces that I've taken together. But I love Warhammer. My second love is Fallout. So I put a big Nuka-Cola advertisement up on here. So if you ever see a Nuka-Cola advertisement in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, that's canon. Anyway, so I just printed out this picture, put on some white glue, and then I've gone through and aged it a bit. So drink Nuka-Cola. So that, and then the next big piece, this is the one I'm still working on. I'm not in love with this one. I wanted to make it more colorful. This one I wanted to kind of make a manufactorum. So I've got 2 smokestacks, I've got some motors. I'm going to have this barrel distribution thing. I've got gears. I need more skulls, of course. This is Grimdark, but a lot of this is again the half printer shell. And I've gone through and kind of painted it, some of these colors look really bright on camera. They're not this bright. And I've tried to make it a little bit different. I'm not done with this yet. I still have I have a lot of printing and a lot of things I want to include. I'm going to make some side props. But these are all this is all from one printer. Imagine what you could do if you had multiple printers or a big box of bits. So I'm trying to make it interesting, make it varied, make it some, there's some spots you could put models on, some area terrain. I think that's going to be my next project, is make some big craters, things like that, things that I would like to, fight over. So if you're going to have an explosion, that you have a crater to put that Land Raider into. So anyway, so this is all of this cost me, $5 for the MDF, which is the bases, $5 for the sand and the paint, $5 for the plaster, and an old printer. And so I've spent maybe, for all of this terrain, I've spent maybe $15, $20 maybe. And the only investment I think is with Warhammer is that you're investing your time. And that's something that, if you're going to do it cheaply, you can you can do it fast, you can do it cheap, or you can do it well. So I'm doing it cheap and I'm doing it well. So I think in a few upcoming videos, I'm going to make some more printer terrain. I've got one more printer that I found, my brother actually gave to me. So I'm going to tear that thing apart on camera, and that way we can slap something together kind of in teamwork. So this has been Brady with New Vintage Film, and this has been another fantastic Warhammer 40K video. Play fun, have fun, play fun, play fun. Have fun, play cheap, and get out there and play some games. Thanks, bye.